I've recorded every single Mythic Plus key that I've attempted in Season 1 of The War Within, and in this series I'm going to cover the highs and lows of each dungeon on my way to pushing to the 0.1% title. So, in the last episode, we got ourselves up to 3,258 Mythic Plus score. We did a lot of homework keys in the last video, and we're going to start off with one in this video as well, because I have now finally made the swap to Frostfire Mage. So, we were doing a 14 Stone Vault here to get a little bit of practice in, and my god, apparently I didn't need that much practice, because this spec blasts. Now, obviously, I'm still very new to it, so I'm by no means playing it perfectly at all. But by the end of this key, we were almost at 3 million overall, with Artie doing 3 million overall on the enhanced chamois. So super happy with that. And as I figure this spec out even more, I will be able to pump a lot more damage out. And because of how much damage we were slamming in this 14, we actually managed 2 chests of 14, which, you know, is pretty impressive. So we get 3 score out of that, taking us up to 3,261. Again, still learning Frostfire for this key here, but I had played a few keys in between, so I was definitely feeling more comfortable with it. And in this key, if I played my cooldowns with better timings, then I would have got, again, even more damage out of Frostfire here. I think your bigger target count dungeons like your Necrotic Wakes, your Stone Vaults, as well as even your Arakaras, Frostfire can potentially even out DPS Enhanced Chamois. It is a lot of pad, quote-unquote pad damage, but at the end of the day, the mobs do need to die, right? So super happy to be playing this spec. The only thing I don't like about it is Death's Chill, because you need to Frostbolt like 4 or 5 times in your opener before you can actually start playing the game. But Frostfire does make that more bearable because you get those instant casts of your Frostfire Bolt. Another thing that I do need to figure out, and I have since figured out, is single target. I'm pretty sure that you just ignore Death's Chill. Unless you've got a boss like Stitch Flesh here, where potentially it would be more benefit for me to actually stack up my Death's Chill on the creation before, and then have 15% extra spell damage as Stitch Flesh comes down, as long as I can extend my Icy Veins for the whole of the phase, and then we potentially one-shot it. We were close in this 15, we got him down to around 15% before he went back up. But I do think that this is one of the downfalls of the Frostfire Frostmage, is its single target isn't anything to write home about. But regardless, we timed this 15 Necrotic Wake quicker than the one we did before. We almost had 3 minutes left here on the timer, and we do get 2 score out of this, taking us up to 3,263. Another homework key then. I know, guys, there's been a lot of homework keys recently, but that is the game when you get to these higher keys, and then you end up just eventually timing them quicker, so we do get score. So we've got a 14 Grim Batol here. Again, not too much to note about these keys. I don't really want to go super in-depth into homework keys if we're only getting a few score at the end, but something we did learn in this key was apparently the percent can bug out in this dungeon. When you go on your dragons at the start and you shoot your rockets, or whatever you want to call them, at the packs at the start, apparently there's some bug that if you kill the dragons if your rockets kill the dragons as you dismount off of your dragon, then apparently sometimes the percent doesn't actually get awarded to your enemy forces count. So we actually lacked percent, and we were super confused as to why at the end of this dungeon, but we soon figured out that, yeah, apparently it is to do with that. I think you want to avoid firing your rockets literally as you're just about to dismount on probably the closest pack of the dragons, because otherwise you may be inconsistent with your percent. But even after going back up and having to kill the Twilight Destroyer after the last boss, we still timed this key relatively comfortably. Grim Batol is just one of those, man. This dungeon, I don't know if it's just us, but it is so cursed. Holy moly. We cannot time this on a 15 for the life of us. But we do get 2 score out of this, taking us up to 3,265. And speaking of not being able to time this on a 15, we are now inside of 15 Grim Batol. I hate this first pull with my whole heart, but there is just so much to set up. It's such a horrible setup of a pull that you've got 2 kicks that you need to kick the mobs in. If you get the Twilight Flame on you, that just completely throws me off. So luckily I didn't get that this time. And then you need to, I mean, as a mage, I can alter time the Umbral Winds, which is fine, but I'm still not 100% sure if I don't think I would live without Ice Block. So I place down my mirror images, put up a barrier, then I Ice Block, then I alter time once the Umbral Wind comes out, all while I'm still trying to do my damage. And now I also have to ramp up 5 casts of Frostbolt at the start of the pull. I think this is maybe my first 15 for Frostfire in this dungeon, so I was not comfortable with this at all, and I turbo in my damage at the start. But it's whatever. It's something that I'll get used to, and I mean, hopefully once we've got this on a 15, we won't be coming back in here again, because I don't think we'll be timing it on a higher key than that, unless the ring bumps up the key levels. I also think this is just one of those dungeons that we really haven't practiced compared to all the other dungeons. I mean, probably because we hate it, and also it's just horrible for tank. So normally your tank is dead and the key is over by the time you get to the second boss. And continuing of the theme of not knowing what we're doing in here. So basically we want to pull these flame renders onto Throngus with all of our cooldowns and lust. I normally have my 40 stacks of Spy Masters here, so we can delete all of this. I'm focusing the flame renders, and I think that is the ideal play here because Relentless has to live, and this is a very scary pull for the tank, as every pull is in this dungeon. And we just need to get better with the baits, which is such a basic thing, and it's not that big of a thing. But what we really need to execute better here is we need to execute the route so that by the time we get our 2 minutes back, we're basically on top of the other pack, and we can chain those into the boss as well. Rally again needs to live that, but again with both of our 2 minutes, it's just super efficient to do if we can pull it off, because then we've taken 6 mobs on top of the boss, and this timer is super tight, so you need to kind of be doing that stuff in higher keys. Also, while we're on the topic of timing this key, I don't actually think our route is the best, because we actually skip the double lava benders, which I think in the highest keys they are now playing, which sounds terrifying, but maybe it's just more efficient time-wise to get the percent for your key. But yeah, as we plodded our way through the rest of this key, we kind of just lost time to deaths. We also didn't have very efficient pulls. This is the furthest that we've got in a 15 green baton, so there is progress being made here. But we do overtime this by about 30 seconds. So I mean, honestly, not too far off. A kind of a decent attempt considering how scuffed it kind of felt anyway. Predominantly with cooldown timings. I think we only had about 5 deaths throughout the key, so again that is time lost there as well. But even then I think it's timeable if we pull more efficiently. Moving on to the next stream then, this is the first time that you guys have seen my face in a while probably in this series, so I just don't do these higher keys on stream anymore, but it is Vault Day, and we got blessed with a Myth Track Arakara Sack Brew, baby. That is a huge upgrade right there, so super happy with that, especially considering my last vaults have been sockets and more sockets. Actually, I've even got a spare socket in my bag from when I'm eventually going to get a 639 belt that I can then socket, because everything else is socketed on my gear already. So I thought I'd just include that because that's a pretty poggers vault. So let's move on to another score key then. We have a 15 stone vault here. We actually are still splitting up the first pool. I don't even know what they're doing in the higher keys anymore. Like, I'm not really watching keys at the moment. But we just cannot execute the double golem pull at the start with the lust. Like, there's just way too much going on. I don't know if we have the damage for it. I don't know if it's only possible with a DK, but we don't need to be doing the double golem pull to actually time this key at a 15 anyway. And I think maybe even a 16 we'd be fine with it too. Moving on to Edna, we need to be better at calling out our defensives here, because we've got multiple externals now with your Pain Sups, your Power Word Barrier, your Zephyrs. And we all kind of just go a bit quiet on this fight. Like, I think we could be a lot more vocal with our defensives, because what we're normally doing at the moment is we're breaking one spike, and then we're doing 4 spikes on the Earth Shatterer with big defensives, which I mean works completely for me, because we barely even have to use defensives when we're breaking 1 spike at a time, and then we've got the defensives to cover it. But I'm definitely still at the point, and I'm sure other people in the group are as well, where we're still overlapping our big defensive CDs, and that is going to hurt us a lot. It hurts us in these keys, but there's keys like City of Threads as well, which we'll get onto later, where we definitely need to be more clear on what defensives we're committing and when. But this key was going pretty smoothly so far. We move on to Skarmorak now, and our damage was kind of cracked on this boss, I feel like. But as we go into the last fortified shell, we do have one of the ads still up, so that's going to increase the absorb shield on Skarmorak, which is fine because I've got like pretty much my full defensives left. So I ice block early, and I'm always in this like weird limbo here where I really don't want to waste even one global for this fortified shell, because that could be the difference between breaking the shield and not breaking it, and that could cause a wipe. But I might need to use the global, and using like my mirror images should definitely be out at this point, right? And I get really low here towards the end. To be honest, I thought the shield that was pretty much broken at this point, so maybe I need to get a weak aura to make that a lot more clear. But I'm sitting on 16% as the next tick is about to go out, and I am spamming my health pot keybind at this point, and it didn't go off. But I think that is because I got lay on hands by Relly in the exact same millisecond, so my health is already full, and therefore I can't health pot. Because the rest of my team was like Vest, what are you doing? You need to health pot there. And I was like, I tried, believe me. I promise my fingers pressed that keybind. But I think Relly just beat me to it. I mean, I did kind of leave it a little bit late, but I knew my timings. I wasn't going to get hit by the next pulse before I had health potted. But something to learn for next time is I should definitely have my mirror images on cooldown here. I think I was just trying to greed damage to break the shield faster. But we get Skarmorak down and move over to the Forge Speaker's wing here. Now, I had crazy damage here. I had my 40 stacks of Spy Masters, had my potion, had ramped up my 15 stacks of Death's Chill as well, and we've got this humongous pool. Now, I just got a bit ahead of myself here. I mean, maybe in this key, I just completely forgot about my defensive mirror image, because that would have stopped me dying here because they would have hit my mirror images instead of me, and then I would have had time to invis. I could have also played maybe further away from them as well. And maybe this is even a bit of a reach, and I'm still taking full responsibility here because I should have called for it. But maybe I could have even called for timelessness on me here because I knew that I had like infinite damage. So I could have asked Seb to put that on me before the pull. I don't know if there's a cooldown on it. I don't think there is. So multiple ways that I could have lived here, and I just lost so much damage. But that is completely on me. I just got way too excited. It's like one of the first big pulls that have actually mattered where I've been on Frostfire and everything has aligned for me. And then I think I had a little bit of a mental boom because of that. And to be honest, I just didn't see this pull under me on the Forge Speakers. It spawned last second. I got a Lust proc as it dropped on the floor. Not to make excuses here, but that did hide the animation of the pull hitting the floor underneath me. But I greeted the Glacial Spike. I should have just shimmered over. Like, I don't know what I was doing here. I think I just was like mega tilted about dying before. And then skipping over to the last boss, what we're doing now is Seb is rescuing our healer. Not going to name names. Into the portal so that they both drop their Void Corruption at the same time. Then I think Artie will always take the melee one. So I'm kind of sat with the Void Corruption debuff. And I didn't realize how much it hurts at this key level. And I was fortunate because I got the Entropic Reckoning debuff on me at the same time. And I actually pressed Invis for that. So I think that also gave me the DR for the Void Corruption. Otherwise, I would have probably been toast here. Because as you can see, it chunks me down from 18% to 20%. And I absolutely shit myself. But we quickly health potted. I was just waiting for the frontal to go out. And then I went and dropped off my little debuff. So yeah, definitely will be noting that for future, that those do hurt if I'm holding on to it for a long time, which I had to there because of the frontal. And even with me losing loads of damage throughout this key, we do still end up timing it with 1.5 minutes left. So we should be good for a 16, I reckon. And we get 9 score out of this, taking us up to 3,274. And the final key for this episode, like I said in the last episode, we're probably going to be doing shorter episodes at the moment just because we're not playing as much. So this is actually fully caught up at this point. We're jumping ourselves into a 15 City of Threads here. Honestly, a key that we should have timed already by now. This key is kind of super free except for the last room. All of the mini bosses and the last boss are terrifying. So once we've got that figured out, then we should be good. And I think we have kind of got it figured out now. But before that, absolutely slamming DPS on NX and VX. I don't know with this Frostfire Frostmage, I don't know if I should be ramping up full stacks of Death's Chill by cleaving all of my Frost Bolts, or if I should just ignore it like it's a single target. I don't know what the actual play is on 2 targets. But regardless, we're keeping above 2 mil for this whole fight here, so we are slamming. Then we do this triple pull upstairs, and this is where Frostfire gets real fun. You just get so much Meteor and Comet Storm damage. You get so much CDR on your Comet Storms. They're just constantly coming back, so you're constantly firing Meteors as well. And even without Lust, and we only had like 34 stacks here, we are still getting up to 10 million DPS easily. And sustaining 8 million towards the end of the pool. And then we chain it into even more. It's just so fun, man. I love Frostfire. Like, if I didn't have to use Death's Chill, I would never want to stop playing this spec ever. And to be honest, Death's Chill really isn't that bad, especially with Frostfire. And we get onto the last boss here. We got 2 deaths. So really not that bad on the deaths, and we got 6 minutes left for the last boss. We'll have Lust coming up towards the end as well. But this is what I was talking about in the last key. We really need to be more vocal with our defensives, especially our like group-wide defensives, so that we don't overlap and munch, because that is really going to hurt us in these higher keys, because you need defensives for like every single thing. But what we did also figure out, and I mentioned this in the last episode, is that I think we're going to start trying to use our defensives on the Splice. Because the Splice is the most damage. So that's the dot that the boss puts on everybody. And it does the most damage, but it's rot damage. It's not like one massive hit. So in previous pools, we've just kind of been eating that. Like, I'll use barriers for it. We maybe use some minor defensives like renewing blaze for it. But allowing Splice to do that much damage to us makes it so inconsistent for when the next abilities come in, like the Umbral Weave and the Tremor Slam. So it's really inconsistent for Ryan as to whether we are actually all going to be full health. Because I think if we are full health at this key level, we can eat both of the Umbral Weave and Tremor Slam Natty. I mean, I still wouldn't risk it, and I'd have like a barrier at least, but I am a spoiled mage. And because we didn't use any defenses for the Splice, we did actually end up wiping here, and that is the key done. But we ran it back a few more times and then used our defensives on Splice, and we killed it first time. I mean, to be fair, Ryan did get hit by the orb here, but I still think we were going to be dead anyway, to be honest. So that was unfortunate, but it's definitely a timeable key. Like, the rest of the key feels completely free. It's just that last boss that we need to figure out. And I don't think I actually recorded it, but we did kill it first time when we started committing our defensive to Splice instead. And I actually think that I was still using my defensives mainly for the big hits instead. But I mean, if the majority of the group is using their defensives for Splice, then it's a lot easier for Ryan to out-heal that. And we can kind of like spread our defensive usage. But I mean, I've got pretty much unlimited defensives anyway. So that's a big sad, and hopefully we time the 15 City of Threads in the next episode. Like I said, some of the group is playing PoE 2 at the moment, and we're kind of just feeling a little bit burnt out of keys for the most part. Keys are definitely feeling like a bit of a chore at the moment, especially when, like, no flame to rally, this is just the way the season is, but like, especially when the tank just falls over and the key is dead because of that, like, it can get pretty demoralizing pretty quickly. And I'm sure that is the case for most groups as well, because this season is just so punishing for tanks. But we'll continue smashing it, as we got the ring coming out soon as well, so that might just give us a free bump to all of our keys too. We will have to see. But if you are enjoying this series, then please feel free to drop a like down below, subscribe to your boy, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.